There for the.
Actually, the station set on Main Street at one time and they moved it back.
But the loading dock, the concrete pad for the loading dock is still there by the thing, right? That's the loading dock?
So
That's why
Jim,
it's.
is that where the wood in my house came from? Because I remember Janet said that the wood in the living room and kitchen area came from the old ice house in Poteet.
No, that was Mangle Station down there on, he had a dock and everything.
Oh, okay.
He sold all the ice for everybody around. That was down there by where they're talking about that Irma's Cafe there.
That was?
Yeah, just on the other side there was a big ice house there with docks.
I love this, I'm sorry, I've only been here 50 years and I don't know all the stories. I
In
love
Pleasanton,
There's nice meeting.
in Pleasanton, there was a railroad turnaround
Jeff,
where they turned the engines
Thanks for
around.
letting me in and let me
And there
know.
was an ice house there where they actually made it. Ice.
No, that's fine, just let me
I was there with my
know,
grandma one time to get some ice.
when she gets the keys,
They had
I'll come by and pick it up so I can
the,
get a key made, but don't worry about it right
I
now.
guess holes in the ground
Thank
or
you.
cellars, and they would make the ice and they'd put wire down through there and cut it. It was really, it was a huge place.
That was still here when I moved here.
Was it?
Are y'all looking?
And LB got his ice over there and then he distributed it out of Poteet.
Yeah, I remember those big chunks of ice up from the ice house here.
And the
And
tongs.
the big tongs, you pull it out of the big.
Remember Tommy Williams' uncle? What was his name that ran the railroad station? I know it was his uncle because every afternoon after the train left, he'd, huh?
Yeah, the train right through there where the
That
police
was
station
Mr.
was,
Barnum?
right through that area.
Okay, but I was thinking that, one of the Williams used to sit on the porch and go to sleep every afternoon. It was Tommy's uncle. Huh? Oh, was it his dad?
Right, because his uncle was the racehorse.
We go to town and my grandma said, well, there's Mr. Williams, he's taking a little nap.
I think he was some kind of.
Okay, does
And
anybody?
on which side of Rutledge Road did the train go on? The east side or the west side?
It was on the east side.
What's that?
On the east side, the train that went in to San Antonio, which side of Rutledge was it on?
It's on the
In
east
for
side.
on my,
Yeah, it's
on
on
the
the
west
east side.
side, it was on my property.
I thought the easement went on the other side, closer to the gas dairy when it went in. It wouldn't?
It was right on,
I guess well, you know better than me, I don't know.
it was still there when we moved in 1960 is when we moved.
Well,
to
the
that.
track, they took the track out the year we came.
What is that?
Very end of that came, they took the track out.
Interesting.
It is very interesting. Go ahead.
And the original town of Poteet was,
Yeah, it was right up there, according to what everybody told me, it was right up there where we're located at. That was where the original town site was.
Where you're at,
Yeah,
where your house is,
right.
that was
Wow.
downtown Poteet?
That was Poteet's, where the apparently where the mercantile was in the blacksmith shop.
where the Poteets lived.
Oh, the Poteets lived.
Yeah, that's where they're,
It's been
where
where
they
it
got the
is
mail
since
originally, the post office was.
1940, I know. That's where
Was
we-
out on Rutledge Road.
Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
There's that old,
Where did you come from?
who has that old
Hard to
picture
see.
of those three, there's a man and
I have
a
it.
child standing in front of that old
My mother had the
mercantile.
telephone.
That's the old town site.
So the mercantile that's up there, was that off that place?
No, that, you
Okay.
mean right up here? No, that's a barber shop.
That was the old barber shop downtown. We moved it out here.
Cruises,
Yeah,
barber
that
No.
was- That was King, that was
King
King
Hayes.
Hayes' barber shop.
He was, his daughter married Red River Dave.
Right there from the light, she where the library is.
Yeah.
That block there where the cement block was where it was sitting.
When Mary Ann and I first moved out there was a big old pile of brush underneath those big oak trees where the house is. And there was a great big pile of coal in there. And that coal was for the forge. It was for where they had the blacksmith shop. And Billy Jenkins and I set that place on fire one time. We was wondering about, we just burned the grass off. We thought, I told Bill, I said, I wonder what happened when we set fire to this thing. It's about knee deep in fuel. And Bill says, go ahead. So we did. In about 30 seconds, we had a 30-foot wall of fire going across that thing. And I was running ahead of it trying to set backfires, and I was hollering at Bill, call the fire department.
Do you remember
But
that?
all of that, well, I got another
I
story on
remember
her.
another.
The statute of
Burn all that
limitations is
coal up,
over.
Burn all that coal up,
They thought
except
they had
one
that,
great
they
big
would
chunk,
send
and
it
it's that salt lignite coal, it's a big chunk like that. And this Christmas, we wrapped a ribbon around it and told them, boys, that's what you get for Christmas.
Told your grandson that?
So you still have that piece of coal?
Yeah, we got that one piece of coal. Huh?
It'll be a diamond someday.
The hickey plow,
Big old chunk, I'm just an old chunk of coal.
Just an old chunk of coal.
the hickey plow was invented in Poteet to farm the strawberries with, and it was the first trip up plow where when you make, every plow like that was called a lay down, because you'd lay it on its side, make the turn row with the mule. But hickey plow, he bought old wheels and put wheels on it. It was a 3-row cultivator or plow, and he developed that and patented it, had a patent on it, and there's a copy of his patent in the strawberry office.
Is that Darrell Hickey's family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was named after him?
Darrell Hickey's granddad, yeah.
Buster
Buster's
Hickey?
daddy was
Okay.
the one that worked on that.
Yeah, Buster's daddy.
Yeah.
I have a picture somewhere with Buster was standing out front with his granddaddy with those plows, and Buster was only about that tall, about.
We had the only one I ever saw, Mr. Leal, that worked at the feed store down there, had a big old pile of junk implements and in his backyard. And I asked him one day, I said, Ray, why don't you give me that pile of stuff and I'll take it to the school. No, I want to keep it. I said, okay. Well, about a month later, he called me down at the store and he says, you still want that pile of stuff? I said, yeah. So he said, come get it. We put it in there and we spread it out in the shop. And everybody and old timers in the town, Mr. Aigner and Hollis Duke and Mr. Benishek and all those guys that come to the shop. And it was just pieces, and they would say, well, this piece goes with this plow, and this piece goes with this plow, and this piece.
This man's granddaddy was probably the one that instigated making that plow.
Yeah, and I was gonna
I
say,
remember him saying something about that plow.
there was a hickey plow in it.
Yeah, hickey plow, that's what they call it.
And in that pile of stuff, and Darrell asked me if I could give that to him because that was his. I told him, yeah, take that. It had the little wheels and it had the little deal in the shanks.
That was outside of the ag building forever, wasn't it? The one, there was something right in front by the front door?
We kept one of those plows and built a placard to show it was the ag department there, yeah.
I remember
I kept all those tools, and we took them to the county fair one time, and I saw, man, we had a big, nice, pretty display, because the kids painted them and polished them and put handles on them, and the whole 9 yards. And we had them all sitting up there, and this guy was standing there looking at that plow, and he kept studying it. Finally, I went by and I asked him, I said, something about, you ever used one of those? He said, son, do you know how far you got to walk behind a horse to plow an acre of ground with this 12-inch plow? I said, no, sir, I don't. He said, I do. I figured it out in school.
And Miss Mann, when your dad was planting, what did they use for the planting?
A mule.
Mule and a plow?
Yeah, back then, because he didn't have no equipment or nothing, he just started out with it.
Mule.
They were still using mules when I was a kid. We had a guy that lived on the place that planted strawberries for us, and I used to try to I'd follow him, hoping he'd let me get a hold of that mule, and he wouldn't let me get a hold of that mule. He had no way I would get behind that mule.
So just imagine planting 72 acres.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just envisioning that.
Yeah, with a hickey plow and lots of
He'd
plow.
get out there right with them, and he'd be in there in the muddy field patting with them that way. He'd work side by side with the hands.
It's hard to believe, but you couldn't hardly plant or plow an acre a day. You need to understand, you had to have multi-row equipment on the single row, anything. That's a lot of work.
I remember going out.
Look how lean he
McCarthy's and
Yeah, he was very lean.
irrigation, where they ran the water down a ditch and then had a piece of wood here, and you open that and it went in another direction.
The canal system.
That was
Out
their
there on
irrigation.
Jimmy's place is the beginning of the aquifer that ran down all the way
There was
down
a flowing well, yeah.
2146 out there.
Filled up a 4-acre lake at one time.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, when we were planting strawberries, last year, we
Yeah.
hit that pipe,
Yeah.
and this 12-inch pipe is buried all over my place. Our place is on top of the hill, and the well was on top of the hill, and they furrow water all up through that country. It goes across the county road.
If you stand up there by where that
You'll be
well was,
plowing along
you
and
still
you'll
see
hit
the
something,
aquifers.
you'll look at it, it'll be
They got
a
an
piece of
aquifer.
concrete pipe about that big around. We went right down, planted one row of strawberries.
I
right
say
there.
aquifer, it's not an aquifer, what do you call those things?
It was an artesian well. Artesian
Let's
well?
see. I know.
A water,
Yeah, like one
That's
for
an
the
aqueduct.
It wasn't an aquifer, what do you call it?
Aqueduct.
An aqueduct.
Aqueduct.
Yeah, I can't say it, I can't call it.
Seriously, they still use them in New Mexico, because I still have family there that they have their watering times, and they still have a water mayor. That's his specific job, is to give everybody their times and when they water, and, and you go out and lift a little gate. And if you're caught with that gate lifted not in your time, it's huge
Yeah,
fines,
big
huge
deal,
fines.
Well, they used to have aquifers down 281, like you were coming from
There's
Beeville
still
to
pieces
San
of it.
Antonio. And you can still see them, pieces of them, but they used to be up off, they were on a trellis.
Oh, yeah.
And they carried all the way, carried a mile down that road there.
I
And
just
you'd
wondered
go by
what
there
those
when they
trellises
were
were
watering,
for.
water was coming out of those.
Kind of like what they do, I think of mining, like when they mine, is that what you're talking about, where the water?
Well, have you ever seen, like in Italy, the Romans built those big aqueducts to carry water into Rome and
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Uh-huh.
Well, an aqueduct is just a way to carry water. It was a
It
ditch.
come from Mitchell Lake. the
Yeah,
water.
yeah. And they
Nobody
transport
knows
that
what that
water
was.
to irrigate all those farms there on the south side of San Antonio.
when my dad bought the 100 and some odd acres outside San Antonio, it's between Buena Vista and Lozoya. When I was a kid, I remember the canal system, and it ran through there to the river, and you would open up the gate and you would let the
Like the
water
BMA.
channel off. Right. And then SAWS came up and said, no, you're going to be polluting the river, and cut it all off.
Yeah.
And then raw sewage started hitting, and then from Mitchell Lake and stuff like that. So. But they had a big wheel,
I keep looking over my shoulder.
gear
because
type,
we had pictures of those little,
up for the gate to raise and lower the gate. You had this big wheel you would turn, it had a worm gear, and it'd bring up this big gate.
Well,
Still gotta do that over
I
there.
still got,
They have
places where they water
Getting that water,
storage
then
and
closing
where they
off and
had
flooding their
pipes that
fields.
would go out to irrigate.
It's
They
amazing.
you had to see these pictures to believe them, because they brought those wells in. It was like a 10-inch casing there, and that water was flowing out of it 6, 8, 10 foot up out of that deal and over the top of that casing and coming down. And they told me, now you gotta understand, I'm a newcomer. I've only been here about 50 years, and they said they run those things 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For a long time. That's where Atascosa River got all its water.
Everything that you need a history.
No.
You were talking about
This man, do you remember where were the wooden water tanks where they fill the trains up? There had to be one every 15 miles. Somebody said there was one north of Poteet.
There was one.
Oh, where they had the big,
Oh, the
the big
railroad
pipes, and you just pull it
Yeah,
through.
yeah. Don't remember that?
No, I don't remember.
I don't know about here, but I remember in McMullen County, when I was a little girl, my grandpa was still using that. Whenever their local well would get shallow, they would go into Tilden and truck water back out to the ranch.
Sonny Dump said he would remember one as a kid up there on the Faggard place where the railroad track turns, goes straight on Rutledge Road, and then eventually it starts turning through that old Faggard place. Because we went up there and, man, we looked with metal detectors and everything, thinking there was no windmill, pushing the creek that was there, but we never found anything. But he said he remembered one as a kid being up there, because they lived up there when he was real young.
There are a couple of graves in there somewhere that Leonard Sanchez found. There are 2 kids, apparently they were on their way up to San Antonio, underneath one of the big oak trees. Their names and ages were written on a rock. He said he found these 2 rocks, and they said there was 2 kids that died on the trip.
Where is that?
At the old Faggard place.
Really?
Yes. And he couldn't remember. I said, I'd love to be able to document that, because there's, the relatives, they're bound to have some
Right.
descendants. Imagine they had more kids, but it was a boy and a girl that had passed away.
That was just up above that old house, wasn't it?
Yes, he said back in
Yeah.
there in the oak trees.
That's where he remembered the water tank being up in that area.
What's the name of that creek that runs alongside of Rutledge Road right there as you're coming into town? Right there,
That'd be hollow.
Rutledge
Hollow?
is that Rutledge Hollow? Well, what's the, is that creek, does that creek have a name in it? You know, that low water
That's it.
crossing there on tank, on.
I just thought there was a little water crossing down a creek.
Yeah, there's a.
On School Drive there, you talking about?
No, the one that goes under School Drive, yeah.
Yeah, that's Rutledge Hollow.
So that's the name of the creek?
Yeah.
Did that thing used to run, did y'all ever know that did it run water?
Yeah, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a well up above it, and they just let the well keep running water down through town
We
all
used
the
to
time.
get
Did
caught,
it,
catch
before that,
crawdads.
was there
sail.
springs or something that might have kept water going through?
It was
The
an
reason I'm
open
asking this
I know.
is that just in the last year, we found some artifacts out there, some Indian artifacts, some spear point
Yeah.
from out of Flint. And then my grandson found a knife. Now, this thing is really unusual. I'll bring it out here and show it to y'all. But you can see it's curved, and it's got a thumb. It's got a little hole, a space for the thumb to go in it, so that when you hold it like that with your thumb in it.
I don't want to be in the picture.
They skin out and it's sharp. I mean, it's still sharp.
It probably did flow in, well, way back.
But I was wondering about that
Sand,
because
yeah.
I remembered asking a guy that, all my life I've hunted for an arrowhead and never found one. I have walked around 1,000
Me too.
miles, my nose down on the ground and couldn't find it. This kid drags up this artifact. Anyway, I remember a guy telling me that if you can look on a soils map and you can find a running water and you can find sandy loam soil, especially if it's just a little spot, said if you go there, you're going to find an Indian camp, an old Indian camp, because the Indians weren't silly. They didn't camp on heavy ground and track mud into their tents all the time, and they didn't camp on sand because it gets sand in everything. But if you could find a sandy loam that would drain off, that was dry, you just automatically find a camp there, and that's the type of soil we have at that location. And I'm thinking, and they found some areas, so I gotta tell you, it got me doing it again. I'm walking around looking at the ground all the time trying to
Where
find.
was that? Was that on your property there?
Yeah, right there at the end of one of them strawberry rows. He went down there, we plowed it up, and he found it with old Dickens.
That was yours.
That was mine. Now he's got it in his treasure chest.
I dropped that. Thank you so much. Whoopsie
You would have
tripped.
given it to him anyway.
Huh?
You would have given it to him
Maybe so, but
anyway.
I gotta tell you, it's pretty fancy, and I'm scared he's gonna take it out and try to skin something with it, and we'll lose it. So.
Out at Rossville on, I think it's Brad Whitlow's property now. But there's some outcrops of rock, and the Indians drill posts, drill holes in them. And then they would pile brush up and run the buffalo across them. They called it a trip because they'd break their leg. And once they got them on the ground, then they could handle them.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
That was probably before bow and arrow technology came to the Indians here.
We found
That's
lots
blood
of arrowheads on that
technology.
barrel place when we had it leased.
Where was that?
It's on Atascosa across from Danielle's farm.
Oh, 2146?
Hardly ever went
Wow.
out there that we didn't find it.
Whoa.
Because it's a hill, you can just see
Keeps
Poteet
washing off.
really good from the top of that hill. And I just think it was probably a camping site where they could see
Raised
long
and
distance.
watched.
And there is a gully that runs off of the Atascosa there.
Now, there's a lot of pecan trees right there at the Atascosa, the low water crossing, there's a whole bunch of pecan trees. Which makes sense, because if, most of those look like they've been around for a while. And that would be an opportune place, because you've got pecans nearby, and you got the river.
This is interesting.
Yes, it has been.
Yeah.
All right,
That's awesome, that is short.
Marie, go ahead. Marie needed to go over some stuff.
No, it's okay, just
We'll wait.
farmer's market is a pre-Valentine's market this coming time, that's it.
Yes, we'll go over that again,
Yeah.
hopefully the week before farmer's market. Darlene, we do have next Wednesday, so it's bring a side dish. Next
night.
Wednesday night, strawberry pines, 6:30.